We are back. Thanks for hanging out with us with Sports Dig, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. That is Derek Gunn. That is Barrett Brooks. I am Rob Ellis. Thrilled to have our next guest joining us. He is back, baby. He is back. When the Eagles go on a Super Bowl run, there is no way we leave Diddy in bubble tape wherever he was for a few months. He is back, and we are excited. Ray, welcome to the show, man. How's everything going?
Always fun to be with you guys, especially in times like these.
Absolutely.
Hey, Ray, I say this with all due respect. The next time you tell me you're retiring from anything, I will not believe anything that you say anymore, because you haven't retired one iota, man. You've been everywhere all football season.
You took the words right out of my wife's mouth. She's standing over there shaking her head. We've had this discussion.
I called Ray the other day, and I talked to Maria for a second because Ray was out somewhere. I forget to see if Ray would be able to come on the show. I think it was late last week. And we were talking about, this is prior to the 49er game. And we were saying, hey, I said, how's it going? Oh, it's good. How are you? And I'm like, fun run? She's like, yeah, it's fun. I can kind of hear it in her voice, like, oh, we're back. We are back. Here we go.
Oh, man.
It was funny.
Well, I have to say that she predicted this before I did. When they were 8-0, she said, they're going to be calling you. And I said, I don't think so. And then like within a day, the phone started ringing, and here we are. So, it's all good. I mean, if the Eagles had been, 4-13 instead of 14-3, we wouldn't be here right now. Right. I mean, you guys would be talking to somebody else. You'd be doing a union show or something. But but the fact of the matter is, here we are. And this team's going to the Super Bowl, and for the last couple of days, I've been looking at this. I mean, the way I really look at stuff analytically, breaking things down, they got a real shot to win this thing. Mm-hmm. You match up these two teams, they got a real shot to win this thing, and that's really exciting.
Mm. Ray, where do they, as the author of 2 Eagle encyclopedias, and by the way, is there going to be a third if they win another one?
I'm doing it. I'm writing it right now.
Oh my God. Wow, that's a little scoop. We got a little scoop today. I like it.
No, we really, the Temple University Press, who published the book, published all 3 editions. We've had 3 editions. We did the first one. The first Eagles encyclopedia came out the year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl in Jacksonville.
Right.
Then we updated it like 9 years later after Andy was gone and Chip had come in. Mm-hmm. And then we updated it yet again after they won Super Bowl 52. And they're rolling through this season at 8-0, and Temple Press. I talked to them. I said, "Well, what do you think?" And they said, "Yeah, let's just start making plans, because if they win again, Eagles Encyclopedia 4.0 will soon be in a bookstore near you."
Wow,
that's awesome. Well, where do you put this thing historically, right? I mean, they're 14-3 at regular season, now 16-3 after these 2 playoff wins. The numbers are off the charts in some cases, where they are, statistically and whatnot. And nobody knows the history of this team better than you. I mean, where are they now? And if they could win this thing, where would they rank all time, Eagles?
You would probably, if they win next Sunday, you would probably have to say this was the greatest season in Eagles history. You probably would, because, they'll have won 17 games. Which I've never done before, and they've set records on both sides of the ball, records for points, records for touchdowns, records for sacks, and you just look at and I don't know how it's going to play out in Arizona, but to this point, I mean, they have just crushed 2 teams in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I mean, 2 scores you look at the whole postseason as a whole, everybody's tooth and nail in these games, in the other games, and the Eagles have crushed their 2 opponents. So if they go to Arizona and they beat the Chiefs, who are, without any question, the number 1 team from the other conference, it's not like some sleeper has gotten there. I mean, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. And if they go out there and they take care of business against the Chiefs, you'd have to say this is the best season in the franchise's history. And the franchise has been around since 1933. I always felt that the 1949 team was probably the best team. Again, that team was 11-1. You look back, it was a season where they dominated everybody. And they won the championship, beating a very good LA Rams team, 14-0 in Los Angeles. And it was the second year in a row. They were back-to-back championships, and both of them won by shutout. That has never happened before in the NFL, and it hasn't happened since. So to this point, I've always said I think the 1949 team was the best team that the Eagles had ever had. But if these guys complete the season and win in Arizona, then you would probably have to say this is the best season.
Hey, Ray, give me your what was your evaluation of this team right before the season started, and how much has this team even exceeded your expectations of them?
Oh, for sure. Before the season started, my prediction straight up was 11 wins.
Yeah.
And I said 11-6, but they'll win the division.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the 11-6, win the East, and then, you know, I didn't try to predict beyond that, but I said 11-6 and win the East. So yeah, I mean, they way exceeded, you know, what my thoughts were. I mean, I thought that I really thought when you look back at the job that Howie did in the offseason, and you looked at this roster, they were good. I mean, they had the addition of Bradbury was big. The addition of Reddick was big. I mean, they had made a couple of moves that really strengthened them in areas where they needed strengthening. And I fully expected that Sirianni and Hurts, after having had 1 year together, would be better this year. Now, I didn't expect that Hurts would necessarily be in the MVP conversation. And I didn't expect them to be a 14-3 juggernaut, but I thought they'd be really good. But I think we would probably all agree that they've exceeded all of our expectations, except for perhaps their own.
Well, hey, Ray, I know you can tell everybody in the stream how much I've been drinking the Kool-Aid for how long now. I mean, this isn't something I just jumped on the bandwagon, especially with the 49er comments and all that stuff. How long have I been, saying that? And also, the question I want to ask you, how do you think they're going to be able to handle all those kooky plays and crazy ideas Big Red's going to have out there when he's going to just give it all, put it all on the line against Gannon and that defense, from the whirly birds and the, peekaboo and everything else that they run as far as, shovel screens, will they be able to handle those type of plays?
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that Andy's going to have to do to win this game. I mean, it's not just because he's going to try to show off, or it's not like he's going to try and do something to entertain anybody. I think he knows that they're going to have to make those kinds of big plays to win. And he's good at that. He really is. But, if you're Jonathan Gannon, you've got 2 weeks to prepare. And Gannon is by nature a conservative coach. And he's a guy whose whole methodology is about preventing big plays, and not getting beat over the top and not doing dumb things that get you exposed. I mean, he will play sometimes, I think to a fault, will play conservatively, but the idea is we're not going to give up big plays. We're going to make the other team work the ball down the field. I think that kind of philosophy is probably helpful against a team that's going to take a lot of chances. And I think you're dealing with in Mahomes a true magician. I mean, I've watched a lot of football. I haven't seen many quarterbacks like this guy. I mean, he is a different animal. And he can make some plays that don't come out of anybody's playbook. He just makes them up on the fly.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so there's only so much that a coach can prepare for a player like that. So you go out there and you take your chances. But I think that the Eagles will be pretty good at this. And I really do think that and everything you said is right, Barrett. I mean, Andy is going to be reaching deep into his bag of tricks here, but that ain't going to win the game. This game, like most games, is going to be won at the line of scrimmage, and the Eagles are just better there, and they're better by a considerable margin.
Mm-hmm.
Andy, I'm thinking, knowing Andy, and we all know Andy. I know what's going on in Kansas City right now. Okay, Andy is turning back the clock to when he was starting out as coaching the offensive line, because that's where he started. He was an offensive line coach, and their preparation from now up until kickoff is going to be built in Big Red's mind about one thing, and that's pass protection.
Yep.
That's going to be pass protection. I mean, he's going to spend these next 2 weeks, and he's going to make sure that his protection package is as good as it can be, because that's going to be the key, is finding a way to neutralize the Eagles pass rush and give, obviously a somewhat limited Patrick Mahomes room and time to do his thing. It's in Andy's mind right now, the way he approaches things. It's not going to be about gimmickry, and it's not going to be about the kind of stuff that we've seen him do before. It's going to be about the meat and potatoes part of the game, is how do we keep that pass rush off our quarterback.
Ray, I never thought in my lifetime I'd see a pass rush that's comparable to, what we saw with Reggie and that crew, Buddy and Kotite era. And I know there's not a Reggie here, but collectively, 4 guys in double figures, it's nonstop. I mean, they've racked up now, 78 sacks through the playoffs in the regular season. They had the 3rd most in the history of the NFL. And I know sacks weren't kept back in the day. I get it. But still, I mean, this pass rush, Ray, is ferocious. Where do they rank for you all time?
They're different in the sense that they aren't the numbers would tell you that they're like the Buddy Eagles, and the numbers would tell you that they're like the 85 Bears. If you watch them on film, you don't see that. You don't see that same kind of intimidation, for the lack of a better term. They just get there, and I think it's very well designed. The fact that they, if one of the things about that Eagles line and even the Bears line, going back to the 80s, one of the big differences is those 4 guys, they played the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have your defensive line didn't go 7 or 8 deep. You didn't worry about a rotation. Reggie White was not coming off the field.
Right.
Dan Hampton was not coming off the field. Right. They were going to play every snap. So I think the fact that these guys have so many bodies, and in the 4th quarter, they're able to bring guys on that have only played 25, 30 snaps to that point, really works to their advantage. But, don't underestimate how physical these guys are. We're coming off a game where they knocked every quarterback out of the game in San Francisco. That game became the body bag game in the 2nd quarter is really what it became. And so these guys are capable of that. And again, I got to give Howie credit. He's the one that built this thing. And he was the guy at midseason, when they were showing some susceptibility to the run, that he went out and brought in Linville Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. And they have really contributed in a big way. And when you're thinking about this game, I think about a guy like Suh, who, came out of college as a big player, Outland Trophy winner, Bednarik Award winner, high draft pick, went to the Lions, and spent most of his career just dreaming of having a chance to play in the Super Bowl. And probably, was sitting on his couch when this season started and figured, well, that ain't ever going to happen for me. And now here he is, and here he is. This is like a gift from heaven, that all of a sudden the Eagles call and say, hey, you want to come back and play? And he finds himself in a Super Bowl. Can you imagine what this game means to him?
Mm.
Can you imagine for a guy like that who probably thought that it had totally passed him by, and I'm going to be one of those guys that, never had a chance, and now he's got it.
Yeah.
You talk about, You're talking about somebody. I mean, not that anybody's going to be lacking motivation next Sunday. Everybody's motivated on Super Bowl Sunday, as Barrett can attest. But we take a guy like Sue with his credentials and his career, and you give him this chance, this ring. Just imagine what that's going to mean to that guy.
Hey, Ray.
Back up.
Yeah. Hey, Ray. The NFL since the early 90s has been on its high horse about preaching equality in the National Football League. And here we stand at the doorsteps for the first time ever having two African-American quarterbacks start in the National Football League. Number one, did you think it would ever take this long? And number two, what do you think this means to the league and to players coming up moving forward in the league?
I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing. I didn't even realize until it was said this week that it's the first time we're going to have two African-American quarterbacks starting in this game. I mean, we had seen so many of them play over time that I thought, well, somewhere along the line, certainly it must have happened. But wow, no, really? Okay, so now that it has, I think it's a great thing. I mean, I covered the Super Bowl way back when Doug Williams was the first African-American quarterback to start the Super Bowl. And I remember what a big deal that was. And Doug, Doug didn't even start. He wasn't even the starting quarterback at the start of that season. He was a backup. And then Jay Schrader was the starter. And then Jay got hurt, and then Doug stepped in and played really well and got them to the Super Bowl. But, here it was, the first African-American quarterback starting in the Super Bowl against John Elway. And that was a big story.
Huge.
Sure. Yeah, that was a big story. And a tremendous amount of pressure on Doug Williams to be the guy that has to go out there and play like that. And Doug, I remember Doug, not before the game, because he would never have said this before the game, but after the game saying, how much I thought about the fact of what happens if I go out there and I fall on my face.
Yeah.
What does that mean for that next generation? When does it, if I go out there and I throw 5 interceptions and lose the game for Washington, does that mean some other African-American quarterback ain't going to get this chance? Am I going to close the door on these other guys? I mean, you got enough pressure playing on you in a Super Bowl just trying to win the game without having those thoughts. But in his position, how could you not have those thoughts? So for him to go out and play the way he played that day, and outduel Elway and win the Super Bowl was, you look back on the watershed moments in modern NFL history, that's right there, because, in a lot of ways, Doug really opened the door for Warren Moon, and Russell Wilson and the guys who followed, and certainly the two guys that you're going to see playing next Sunday.
Well, who's your guy that you think is got to play the best besides the quarterback for this Eagles team to win the game?
I think I was thinking about this.
That's a long pause.
Yeah, no. I was thinking. I was thinking about this actually last night. I was trying to think it not quite in those terms, but sort of along those same lines. I think Kelsey's really important. I think Kelsey's really big. Now, the reason I hesitate to go there is you could say that every week. You could say that every week, but I think really in this game he's very important because when I look at the Chiefs, their defense reminds me a lot of the Giants. It really does. And by saying that, I hope I don't make everybody up really overconfident, given the way the Eagles handled the Giants. But they're good up front. They have a monster player in the middle in Chris Jones. But their linebackers are average at best. And the Eagles' offensive line was able to win the battle on the good players up front and just annihilate the second level. And it started with Kelsey. And I've seen Kelsey play a lot of football, and I've seen him play great football. I don't think he ever played a better game than he played against the Giants. He was awesome in that game. Because Dexter Lawrence came into that game playing the best he had played in his whole career. And he just demolished Minnesota the week before. I mean, he was getting pass rush from the nose tackle position that you just don't see.
That's right.
And it was sort of the culmination of what had been a really great year for him. I mean, to me, like a legit all-pro kind of year. He was emerging, and he is emerging as that kind of player. But that day against Kelsey took him to school. And I think that, I look for – if the Eagles – and this is a point that Barrett makes all the time and Jaws makes all the time, and they're 100% right in saying it. In the NFL, and especially in games like this, the game is really won at the line of scrimmage. I mean, we're going to talk forever about the quarterbacks and the quarterback, and probably a quarterback's going to win the MVP, as they always do.
Yep.
But in reality, the winning starts at the line of scrimmage. You got to win there. You got to win there. And so, and with the Eagles, it really begins with Kelsey. And, I mean, he's going to have a big piece of Chris Jones. He's going to have to play well there. And he's also going to have to run those plays where he gets out to the second level and screens off those linebackers and gets Hurts and the running backs to the edge. So, yeah, I think he's big every week, but I think he's particularly big this week coming into this game. And also, don't discount just the fact of what his experience means for the young guys on this team. That have never been in this game before and have never been in this spot before. Having that core group of Kelsey and Cox and Graham there for these young guys to sort of lean on, and even a veteran like Hassan Reddick, who's a veteran player and a really good player, but has never been in this game before. Having those guys there that have been not just been in this game but won this game. Having them all week out there is, I think, going to be very, very important.
Ray, they've had some great free agent signings over the years. Ricky Waters, John Runyon jumped to mind immediately. But the impact that Reddick's had this season, man, I mean, they win it and he has a big Super Bowl. That could go down as maybe the biggest free agent signing they've made.
Wow.
Really
even with AJ Brown, Hassan Reddick is.
Well, what about? Don't forget T.O. That was a mega signing, also.
That was a trade, though.
Yeah, I know, but still, you brought that dude in. That was a mega move.
Then they drafted this kid in '95 from Kansas State too.
Wait.
Yeah, well, the Reddick signing was you're right. It was really a big one, and it was one that I did, and I think you guys probably did right away. Said, boy, that's a good one. Sometimes you get these free agent signings, and it's like, oh, okay, let's just see how that one works out. I mean, this one I think you pretty much knew, because Reddick offered something that you don't necessarily get with every free agent, in that you had visual evidence that he can play in any system. He had been a double-digit sack guy playing in one system in Arizona. He goes to Carolina in a different system, a double-digit sack guy again. It's not like it's a guy who's a product of one system and you bring him to yours and he doesn't fit. You had seen how good this guy was, and you had already seen him in a couple of different systems do the things that, okay, these are the things we're getting him to do. And then to come in here and then just, you hope he stays healthy, but you bring him in here back to his hometown, give him a chance to play on a team that actually has a chance to win, and just let him go. And he has been, what a difference maker. What a difference maker. I mean, there were a lot of stars in Sunday's game. I mean, you beat a team like the 49ers that soundly. A lot of guys played well.
Yeah, he definitely,
But if you asked me to pick the guy who I thought had the biggest impact in that game, I thought it was Hassan Reddick. I mean, as good as he's played all year, I think he took it up another notch.
Wow, he did. And looking at, I look at this offense, and everybody's saying quarterback didn't have a great game, and you're going to have to get Jalen Hurts playing at a high level to beat the Chiefs. But man, the way they Shane Steichen distribute the carries, everything was pretty much even. And a bad game, this isn't necessarily a bad game, but efficient game is what I saw from this Eagles team. You could tell that Hurts's arm wasn't really and you brought it up in the post-game show how he was underthrowing passes. He was almost McNabbing passes, but he got great receivers that made him look good. But I really think he needs this week off going into this week. But we're gonna have to have a great game out of him.
Yeah, I kind of expect that. I do. There's no doubt that his arm that the shoulder thing it hasn't gone away. I mean, it's and I think when this is all said and done, if they win the Super Bowl, like a week or so after the parade, there'll be a release from the Eagles office saying, well, Jalen Hurts is going in for shoulder surgery now, and
it fell off now.
You're going to clean it up or whatever they're going to say, but he's going to have something done because he's playing hurt. And I was talking to Peter King, doing one of these very things last week, and Peter had talked to Hurts after the Giants game, I guess, and Hurts said, "Yeah, I mean, I'm hurt, but I'm certainly not sitting out. I'm going to play through it." And then Peter asked him about the ball early in the Giants game, the 40-yard bomb he throws to Smith right at the start. And Hurts said, "That's the farthest I've thrown a ball since Chicago."
Mm-hmm.
He said, I even in practice, I hadn't tried to throw a ball that far. He said, and I wasn't sure I could do it. He said, but maybe it was just the adrenaline. It was the moment. It was whatever. He said, but that's the farthest I've thrown a ball since I fell on my shoulder. And he said, I sort of breathed a sigh of relief and I kind of got through it. But, make no mistake. I mean, this idea that, he's had some rest and he's got some time. No, he's playing with a significant injury here. But I mean, that's what these guys do at this point in the year. That's what Lane Johnson's doing right now. I mean, you've come this far. You're not going to say, you know what, coach, I got to sit this one out. Nobody's going to do that, especially not a guy who's wired this way. But I expect him to play well in this game. I do. I mean, he's with one thing we've learned about Jalen Hurts is he's a guy that he is fiercely competitive, and he's been told at a lot of different points in his career, you can't do this and you can't do that, and he's been driven by that, and now here he is at this point, going into the biggest game with an opportunity to become one of the elite star players in this league, and. A lot of it is the physical part of it, but a lot of it is what's here. Does a guy have the mental toughness in that moment to play his best game? And that's what the special ones do. And, and I have a feeling that this kid's made of pretty special stuff. And I expect him. And also just the challenge, even though he and Mahomes are not going to be on the field at the same time, necessarily playing head-to-head, but in their minds they kind of are. And this is... if you're Jalen Hurts, it can't get any better than this. You're going to the Super Bowl and you're going head to head with Patrick Mahomes, who is going to win the MVP, and by most people, by acclamation, is the best player in the NFL. And now, in front of the whole world, you got your chance to take him down.
Mm-hmm.
If you're wired the way Jalen Hurts is wired, I think you're going to get your best effort.
See, Ray, I had said. When it was revealed that Jalen had this shoulder injury, I kept saying there's something more than what this Eagles organization is letting on in terms of the injury, and now it's slowly starting to reveal
didn't think
itself.
so.
See, and I kept saying, and Barrett kept saying, "Nah, D-Gun, I don't think so." And I kept saying, you don't hold a guy out 2 consecutive games when all you needed was 1 game to clinch a division. If there's not something, they're protecting this for some reason, and lo and behold, it's starting to come out now. As you just said, that 40-yard pass was the longest pass he had thrown, and he held his breath because he didn't know if he could make it.
Right.
Do you think we're possibly looking at some type of surgery when the season is over? I mean, it might be a slight tear, but the more you use it, the more you're aggravating it, just like the Lane Johnson, groin injury. It's to the point now where Lane Johnson says he's happy it's completely ripped now because he can play a little less pain-free. But I've known this organization like I've known him for the last 20-something years, Ray. I knew it had to be something more than just a shoulder sprain. To hold a competitive kid like this out of games like with when you consider the ramifications on the other side of those games.
Sure. No, I definitely felt that. And then you heard Nick kind of allude to it a couple of weeks later in his press conference, when he used the term, he said, "Well, it hurt. He'll tell you it hurts like hell."
Yeah.
And you don't often hear a coach say things like that, but he did, and that was just and I felt it right from the beginning that he's hurt, and the fact that he sat out 2 games, and then when they brought him back, when they had to absolutely win that last game to get the #1 seed, they brought him back. But you saw the way they played him. You saw the way they called the game. I mean, they did everything they could to protect him, to get the win, which they needed to get, but put him in as little risk as possible. Well, they did it, and they got to the playoffs, and now they're here, and now you got to somehow manage him through that last game. But I hope that everything's fine, and I hope that the doctors look at it and say, just rest up, you'll be good this offseason. And he comes back next year and he's 100%. I hope that's the outcome. But my spidey sense, I suppose, after having been around this game for as long as it is, I think they're very quietly going to be some sort of a procedure that he's going to get this offseason that's required. But there's no question that whatever he's got right now, you're going to get the best of it on Sunday.
Absolutely.
All right, Ray, I know we're 12 days out, and Derek likes my countdowns. I think we're about now 293 hours away, but who's counting? But what's your spidey sense telling you about this game?
I really like the Eagles.
Yeah,
I really do. I just think they're better. I just think they're better. I think they're. I keep coming back. I mean, they've got a lot of really good players, and they've got a lot of a lot of weapons here. But I keep coming back to the line of scrimmage, and to me, the Eagles are significantly better than Kansas City there, both offensive and defensive side. The Eagles are really good, and I don't know. We've spent all this time talking about Jalen Hurts and how healthy is he. Is he 80%? Is he 90%? Whatever. Well, we could be asked the same question about Patrick Mahomes. How healthy is he right now? And that's going to be part of the story: is which quarterback is able to summon up the biggest percentage of 100% of themselves to go out there and play next Sunday. But you look at the Chiefs, and Andy has done just an amazing coaching job with this team, because you look at the personnel, and they've got good players. I'm not saying they don't. But they're not that good. I mean, the Eagles, man for man, are really a better team. And it just reflected in some numbers here. I mean, you've got, the Chiefs. It's very rare, and I haven't gone back and done the research, but it's very rare to see a team get to a Super Bowl that's minus and giveaway takeaway. I mean, that's, I don't know if I've ever seen that before. They got a team that's playing in the Super Bowl that had more turnovers than takeaways this year. The Chiefs do. And so that's very unusual for a Super Bowl team. The other thing that is very unusual for a Super Bowl team is normally teams that are in a Super Bowl, their defense, even if they give up some yards and so forth, they're generally really good in the red zone. They don't let you score on them. Chiefs are 31st in the league in red zone defense. So the fact that they're able to play through all this stuff, that they're able to overcome giveaways, and they're able to give up points down in the red zone, and they still are in the Super Bowl, will tell you about how dynamic their offense is, because they can play above all of that stuff. But, can you beat a team that's as good top to bottom as the Eagles are right now? I don't know. It's going to come down to, how well you play that day. I mean, we've all seen better teams lose because on that particular day, they didn't play that great. I will forevermore think, and I still believe this, that the Eagles were the better team, were better than Oakland in Super Bowl 15. I think the Eagles were a better team than the Oakland Raiders, but they didn't win. That day, it just didn't happen. They made too many mistakes. The Raiders made some good plays. Plunkett made some big throws in key moments, and wind up losing 20-7-10, not even close. So that can happen. This isn't best of 7. You get one shot at it. And but all you can do kind of right now is just kind of assess the two rosters and the matchups. And frankly, at this point, most of it points the Eagles' way.
Ray, did you ever think we'd see an NFL team in our lifetime approach 80 sacks in a season? They have 78 right now in 19 games. I mean, I know I didn't.
No, I didn't either. I mean, I saw I covered those 84, 85 Bears, and I didn't know would ever see another defense like that.
Right.
I mean, that was that good. That was that scary. And then we saw, the buddy defense of the late 80s, the 90s, that was pretty close. I mean, and the same architect in Buddy Ryan building it. But yeah, to see the way this team has played is it's pretty good. And to have 4 guys with double-digit sacks we've never seen it before, and you're probably not going to see it again. It's just very unusual. And that's, as I told you, right now out in Arrowhead land, that's Andy is sitting in a room now with the projector going, and he's watching this, and he's trying to draw up some protections here that's going to deal with this. But it's very hard because they don't play like everybody else. That 5-man front that they show is, you don't see it that often.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost become a base defense for this team. And what it does is it makes it very hard for offensive lines like the Chiefs that rely a lot on helping out and double teaming and all that kind of stuff. If you come with a 5-man front, then it breaks down a lot of that stuff, and you create a lot of one-on-ones. You probably would love to give somebody help, the guy who's blocking Javon Hargrave. You'd probably like to help him out, but you can't. You'd probably like to help out whoever's trying to block Reddick, but you kind of can't. It creates a lot of one-on-ones where teams don't want to play one-on-one, and you're counting on your guys winning those one-on-one battles in the 2.5 seconds that the quarterback's got the ball. And generally, when you've got 5 guys that good, okay, you might block 3 of them, but 2 of them are going to get there, and that's what the Chiefs are going to have to deal with in this game. Certainly, the 49ers couldn't do it, and we obviously saw the Giants couldn't do it. We'll see if Andy comes up with any answers between now and next Sunday.
Ray, great to be talking about it with you, man. We certainly appreciate you taking a couple of minutes today, and
Thank you, Ray.
We're thrilled that you're back. That's for sure. And
thanks for coming back, bro. I appreciate you being on the show, bro.
Hey, listen, it's been a blast. I mean, I didn't foresee this. I mean, I honestly, Derek, to your point,
yeah,
I honestly did intend to retire. I mean, this was not a scam. This was not a scam. Okay, this was not a ruse. This was. I don't
believe it.
I really fully did intend to retire.
He got tired of me begging him.
Like Pacino said, every time I'm out.
I'm sorry, Ray. I love you to death. I don't believe you. I can't believe you anymore,
Derek,
Ray.
He just missed Barrett. Can you blame him?
No,
I mean, come on.
Ain't nobody miss Barrett that much. Come on now.
Right.
Come on.
Ray, take care, man. We'll talk to you soon. We appreciate it. Maybe we'll talk again if the Eagles win this bad boy. We'll chat with you. All right.
All right. And one last thing before I go, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. Tommy and Me is coming back.
Yes.
Nice.
Tommy and Me is coming back. We just signed the contract that we're going to go to the Uptown Theater in Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
We will be there next September, hopefully when the Eagles are unfurling the flag of Super Bowl champions. And if anybody, tickets will be going on sale this Friday. So anybody that wants to see it or hasn't seen it, you get your opportunity next September, but you can order your tickets starting Wednesday, the Uptown Theater in Westchester.
If you haven't seen it, it's a must.
It's
Trust
a
me.
great play. Great.
It's
Yeah.
the best.
Well, I appreciate you guys all coming out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we do appreciate your time, Ray. Thank you very much.
Take care, guys. It was a my pleasure.
Yep.
The great Ray Didinger right there. All right, guys, that was awesome. Let's get a quickie in here. We'll come back, kind of surmise some of the things that Ray had to say, and then we'll dig a little bit deeper into this Chiefs team and some of the areas you could exploit, some of the areas that are really good. We'll go inside some of the numbers and all those kind of things when we come back. Barrett, Derek, Rob, we're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk a little Pro Action Restoration. Yes, Pro Action Restoration is the company that you reach out to if you have a home, you have a business, you have a property, and unfortunately you've gone through the inconvenience and the pain of water, fire, smoke, mold damage to that structure. Pro Action Restoration is on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. I can tell you personally, I called them on a Saturday and they were right there. Sometimes you don't know on the weekend. Sometimes you don't know at night. You don't know on a holiday. Well, guess what? They're ready to go anytime, any day. All right. They're licensed, bonded, fully insured. They've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. ProAction will work in conjunction with your insurance company. So again, water, fire, smoke damage, mold remediation, you name it, they can handle it. Give them a call, 610-623-3760. That's 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.